Hello data people! Today we're going to talk about another challenge that data professionals face right now. And we are seeing that through the survey that I recently launched on LinkedIn, where hundreds of data professionals answered, and this came just one vote below feeling stuck in your data career. So it's something that is, first of all, very important for people, but second, is strongly related to being stuck in your data career. Because if you get more interviews, surprisingly, you have more opportunities to find a new role and therefore find a new opportunity and get unstuck in your data career. So there are a lot of different things that are important whenever you need to do an interview and you're not getting any. Because maybe there's something that you're doing wrong, maybe competition is fierce, but this is a clear signal that you need to improve something in your job application process. And in this video, we're going to find out 3 different ways to help you get more interviews by changing 3 important things in your job application. Let's get into it. So first, you should understand that each situation is unique. We have a double-sided market right now, where there are people with exactly the same title, exactly the same company have interviews and others don't. And we have at the same time job ads that hiring managers put that receive hundreds or thousands of applications and some others that don't receive any. So it depends a lot from the algorithm that LinkedIn has or Indeed has on the job ad, because maybe there is something that is not really optimized, but also there's something in your CV that is maybe slightly different from the CV of the other person that is getting a lot more interviews. So this to say that your situation might change very quickly. You change 2 or 3 things that right now are not helping you get interviews. So first of all, let's talk about how people get interviews. There are 3 different ways. First one is direct applications. So you send an application with your CV and you get rejected or no. The second one is through recruiters. So a recruiter contacts you, he thinks or she thinks you're a great fit, and then he or she sends your CV to the hiring manager, and hopefully you will get an interview from that. And third, referral. So through networking, somebody pushes your profile forward and you get an interview. Those 3 things are very different, and you have different skills and different things that you can do in each of those situations to get an interview. Let's bear in mind that doing an interview through a recruiter is much easier because obviously you talk to them, you already have pretty much a first interview, which is a pre-screening call. And if you have the requirements, then of course you're going to be put forward for the application and hopefully you should receive an interview request. The networking side is also the easier route to get an interview because obviously people know you and they put you forward, and therefore having a referral is a golden ticket in today's job market to make sure that you have an interview and make sure that people already trust you, and therefore all the application process and the interview process you do should be streamlined, it should be optimized for you to get to the final stage and hopefully get the job. And the most important thing is actually getting the direct application from LinkedIn or from Indeed to the job advert that you want to apply. You don't know the company, you don't know anyone, and therefore you are relying on your CV to actually get seen, get evaluated, and get a call from somebody. Once you get an interview stage with somebody, you're gonna play your cards because hopefully, because they called you means that your CV is relevant, and therefore you should have a high possibility to move forward if you are really good at doing interviews. But making to the interview stage is one of the biggest challenges that people have right now. So let's talk about this CV to interview stage with the direct application, which is the hardest thing that people find in order to get interviews. I would say, talking about the first point, you should always tailor your CV. And what I mean by that is that the job description has some clear signals of what the hiring manager is looking for. So if you read between the lines in every job spec, you'll find out which kind of person the hiring manager wants to see. And after that, once you find out if your profile is relevant, then I would suggest you tailor your CV to that application, which means that you need to make sure that you have the tools written down, you read as job description describes as somebody who is maybe a bit more technical or a bit more strategic. You can check what is the first point that they write on the job description, what is the second point, and therefore make sure to mirror what they put in terms of priority in your CV as well. For example, if they put analyzing large data sets as number 1, and you talk about sharing insights with senior leaders as number 1, there is a little bit of a mismatch because maybe they're looking for a technical person which is really good at analyzing data, and you are showing up as somebody who is really good at sharing insights. So make sure that you mirror all the points of the job description exactly in the same way that you write your CV. I know it takes longer time. I know you think that probably it's not worth it, but in reality it's much better to do 5 applications a week done like that, plus all the other tips that I'm gonna share with you, rather than just applying to 50 jobs randomly, because your profile is probably not gonna be relevant. For example, I'm working on a job that requires Microsoft Dynamics to be the main tool that you can use. And it's a really interesting example because I added 2 questions on LinkedIn to filter out people who don't have Microsoft Dynamics expertise. And one was, do you have experience with Microsoft Dynamics? If so, how many years of experience do you have? And people can put 1, 2, 3, whatever. And then the second question is, do you have strong experience managing complex Microsoft Dynamics workflows in your experience? Yes or no? And guess what? People who I've seen, it means that they answered yes to both of them, but then opening up the CV, it was crazy because pretty much 80% or even 90% of the people that have gotten through didn't have Microsoft Dynamics in their CV, because I wanted to check how relevant was their experience, if it was in the last job or if it was in the first job, because obviously Microsoft Dynamics changed and therefore for the client it's relevant that they use it in the last couple of years, for example. And it was surprising to see how many people said, yes, I do have experience, and didn't put it on their CV, which is very weird because like if you answer, you have experience with Microsoft Dynamics and then you don't put it on your CV, I'm thinking that you lied on that question, or I'm thinking that you didn't use it as much as is needed for their job. So people who didn't put Microsoft Dynamics in their CV, although they responded that they have used it, they miss a chance, because obviously I couldn't call 80 people to find out if the answer was actually true or not. So they miss an opportunity, and I don't want you to miss an opportunity if you find out that, for example, a specific skill is requested, and you maybe find that out by answering to a poll where they say you have that skill, and then you don't have that in your CV, or you don't show how relevant it is. That's a pity because you have that experience, but maybe you don't show up in the right way to the recruiter. So this is just an example that I wanted to share. Then second, you want to share impact. So what is the impact and what is the result of you having a specific skill? So for example, if you can use Excel, what is the impact of using Excel? It might be that you analyze millions of rows, which is something that could be interesting, but what did you do with that? What achievement did you get? What result did you get by analyzing 100,000 rows? Did you analyze it just for fun? Did you find out something out of that? So make sure that you write the impact as well. And then tip number 3 in terms of your CV, always make sure that you write which kind of data you work with. It's the most common mistake that I see in data people, in data CVs. Because somebody says, I analyze data with that, I analyze data with SQL, I create a dashboard with Power BI, I improve processes, but there is no mention of which kind of data the person worked at. So for example, let's say you work at Unilever, right? Unilever is a huge company. You can work in the finance department, in the marketing department, in the supply chain department, in the financial crime department. You can work in a lot of different departments. And usually if you work in the finance department, for example, and you're looking for a job, and you're applying to a job that is marketing focused, then it's not going to be relevant. And also, if you don't put which kind of data you work with, and for example, somebody's looking for a person that can analyze marketing data, if you don't write that you analyze marketing data, or if you don't give any clues, the person won't hire you, won't call you back for an interview. So it's really important that you explain which kind of roles and which kind of data did you work with, because otherwise people wouldn't know. And sometimes data people have titles like data analyst, and it's very generic and it doesn't get people to understand what you actually do. So if you write what kind of data you analyze, if you write the right technical languages and the right tools that you can use, and if you make sure that your data is accurate in terms of the impact you have, then I assure you that if you're applying to the right job, you will get an interview, because most likely if you apply to a relevant company and you have all those 3-4 things that are really important, then I'm sure you're gonna get an interview, or at least the chances that you have to get an interview are maximized as much as possible. We are talking about direct applications to the job ad that the company posted. There are other things that you can do to make sure that you can nail it in terms of making sure that your applications go through. And if you are a bit more junior, we're talking about a portfolio. For example, you don't have enough experience to make sure that the company understands what impact is it that you have. Make sure you have a portfolio to describe the projects you've done and all the work you've done to make sure that the company understands which kind of data you work with and what impact did you have, what challenges did you have, so that you showcase a practical expertise, a portfolio, videos, photos, dashboards, whatever it is, for companies to understand what you can do. And then for more experienced people, could be references from previous colleagues, references from your previous boss, references from the people you managed. The more references you put, the better your profile is going to be seen from hiring managers, because they actually can see what people think of you. So portfolio, references, examples, any projects you can put, anything like that will just reinforce your application. And let's say you've done everything you had to, so you tailor the application, you tailor your CV, you put a cover letter, you put a reference, a portfolio. What else can you do? You can just do two things. Either you wait until somebody comes back to you, which is something that can happen or not, or you take action. Taking action, of course, is my favorite. And if you take action, there are two things that you can do. First one is contacting people within the organization, which can be HR, which can be the hiring manager, which can be the person that is working in another department but has something in common with you. And contacting all those people and sharing the reason why you're contacting them and explaining them why you're a good fit. You write a message that is very short and snappy, so that other people that read the message understand that actually you have that profile that they're looking for. It's really powerful because they can send you a referral. So this is something that you can definitely do in order to maximize your chances of getting an interview. Also, what you can do is a bit of a left field tactic, but let's say we are working with Unilever again and you apply to a job. You might want to check if other recruiters are actually working on those roles on their behalf. So let's say they're using research for us and I'm the person that is doing data analytics recruitment. You can actually go on LinkedIn or Google, write Unilever success story or case study recruitment, and you go on the website on Google and you see all the recruitment agencies that have put a case study talking about that specific company. And then you go on LinkedIn and you find that person that has the title that is representative of the kind of roles that they recruit. So for example, if they're recruiting data analytics at Unilever and I work with them and I come up on Google in terms of research, you go LinkedIn, you definitely find me, and it's possible that I'm working on the role. And if I'm not, I might keep your CV, or if it's relevant, I might say, you know what, I'm not working on the role, but actually I can send it to the company and the hiring manager because this person is very relevant. So this is something that is very difficult to do, but it's a creative tactic. And last but not least, it's not only about applying to roles. You can get interviews by getting called by recruiters. And obviously you cannot just sit and wait without doing anything, otherwise it won't work. But you need to curate your LinkedIn profile in order to make sure that the recruiter contacts you for the relevant opportunity. And how can you do that? First of all, having a strong LinkedIn profile. Make sure you have the profile picture, make sure that the titles are understandable, make sure you have a description that talks. Make sure that you have a description under each job that explains exactly what you do and also what the company does, because maybe sometimes people don't know what the company does, and by reading an excerpt in your CV, they might understand it better. Make sure that you update your profile at least once a week with some minor changes, which will help you A/B test your profile and see how many contacts you get from recruiters. So make sure that you're active on LinkedIn, connect with recruiters, connect with hiring managers, and make sure that LinkedIn profile that you have attracts opportunities. So don't sit and wait, do something, whether it's using your LinkedIn to attract recruiters who contact you, or whether it's you actually applying to roles and then talking to HR or hiring managers or internal people working for that company. Make sure you're active and not just only tailor your application for that, which is already something a lot more tactical and technical than what other people do. Other people just apply with a random CV and they wait. They do high volumes sometimes. Some people just send 3-4 CVs and they think the job is done, and then they don't do anything else. So if you tailor your CV for each job application, if you actually use recruiters, if you add people on LinkedIn, then you are far ahead of probably 90% of the people who are your competitor, and it's much more likely for you to get a job interview in that way. Then we're gonna talk about interviews in another video, but for now, this is how I would say that you can maximize the number of interviews you can get. And then we are gonna talk about other topics, but usually unlocking interviews and making sure that you are in them it's a massive added value because you're going to learn a lot of things like interview performance, how do you prepare for an interview, you do market research, you understand what companies are asking and which questions are the ones that for you are the hardest, and then eventually you improve on each interview because you learn something new each interview, hopefully, and then you will land a job. So it's kind of something between art and science. There's something very technical about it in terms of using the right data and doing the right approach in order to find a job, but it's also art because maybe you need to be creative in finding the right people, in understanding the between the lines of job descriptions to make sure you position yourself in the right way. It's not an easy market whatsoever, and a lot of people are getting frustrated with it and they think it's their problem, but actually it's not their problem. It's not the problem of your profile probably, but it's how you show up, it's how what you do in order to get those interviews, and it's also the situation that we are in. A lot of people are not getting interviews because there are maybe less jobs. So make sure that you do everything you can to maximize your opportunities. And I hope this video was helpful. If it was, just put a like and subscribe and leave a comment if you want to talk about something else in the next video or if you have any question, and see you in the next video.